Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another BRAP. Look at that. 2 days in a row now. 2 days in a row since we did our show on Wednesday night, our regular scheduled show. I suppose I'm on a roll. Having some audio difficulties earlier. You may have heard some echoing, so sorry about that for the intro. But welcome, everyone. What Def Floyd says? Oh, okay, you hear? Okay, never mind. What's going on, Ice Cream Gaming, Def Floyd, Twisted Sin, Michael Moradane. Thank you, everyone. Corey Massey. Thank you, everyone, for joining the show. Very impromptu rant, as always. As always, hopefully you got the YouTube notification, and if you didn't, you should be following me on Twitter, BRAP_podcast or X, whatever it's called today. But anyhow, first of all, I just want to wish everyone well, those who were impacted by hurricane and now tropical storm Helene, which is the storm is just wreaking havoc right now in Florida and the southeastern half of the United States right now. So just thoughts and prayers out to those who have been impacted. There has unfortunately been some loss in life, so I just wanted to take some quick time to recognize that event that's happened, and just I'm looking at watching the news actually right now. While Twisted Sin says I'm good over here. Okay, that's good to hear, Twisted Sin. But I'm over here watching the news right now as well, and I could just see a lot of the flooding in Asheville, North Carolina. Other states been impacted. Actually spoke to a colleague in Atlanta, Georgia today, and they got a lot of flooding and rain there as well. Look, I do want to discuss kind of a part two of the PS5 Pro. At one point today, it actually was sold out. I did see that on the direct, but it has since been. It's actually now available for pre-order again. So it's going to be interesting to see. I suspect, that perhaps that the group that we saw pre-ordering the PS5 Pro or the individual consumers who aren't looking to clearly because, I'm going to say not all of them, but I think there's some that wanted to lock down the PS5 Pro pre-order, didn't maybe want to take the chance at going retail October 10th. When retailers are able to start offering pre-orders for the PS5 Pro. And I wonder how many folks are waiting for the October 10th pre-order, retailer pre-order to start with partners to, like at GameStop, particular or EB, to be able to go in and say, okay, now I'm going to trade in my console. I know I have a console I'm going to trade in. I'm going to order. I forget what the minimum down you have to put down for PS5 Pro or for a console is at GameStop, because it's been 4 years since I've done a pre-order. But I wonder how many of those people are waiting for that to happen so they can, because they know they're going to trade in their existing PlayStation 5 console towards the purchase of a PS5 Pro. It's interesting. When we first saw the initial sticker shock of the PS5 Pro, one of the things that people were really hyper focused on, and I get it, the price point is $700, but then seemingly forgetting that there's a subset of the consumer that is willing to trade to upgrade. I mean, that I was one of those individuals last generation with the PlayStation 4. Actually did trade in my PS4 Pro to my PS4 I should trade my PlayStation 4 in for the PS4 Pro. And then I took my PS4 Pro, traded in for the PS5. I wasn't planning on getting a PS5 Pro, but I may be trading in my PlayStation 5 launch edition and the Xbox Series X my kids have, which they really don't play that anymore. I may trade both those consoles in towards a PS5 Pro. That's something I'm considering. So we'll see. Not 100% on it, but something I'm definitely considering and thinking about. All right, I just put a link in there in the live chat. Please retweet the link, share it on your favorite social media platform. Let everybody know we are live. I did also put out a tweet today on X. Is it even called a tweet anymore? now that it's X. What's interesting is I put out a tweet like I know I'm getting on my soapbox here, but we really need, and I said this yesterday, we really need to start having better conversations around video games. Some of the stuff that I'm hearing from content creators is just atrocious. It's just bad. It spreads misinformation, disinformation. It's ignorance. Like I don't. We have enough of that in our world. Why do we need it in entertainment and gaming? Something supposed to be enjoyable. I heard an Xbox content creator today say something to the effect that the PS5 Pro exposes that the PlayStation 5 is a weak console, and developers aren't. Let me go back to this real quick. I want to make sure I quote this accurately here. Yeah, saying that developers said the PS5 sucked ass or something. Like, I mean, anyone who talks like that, I can't take seriously. Like insinuating the PS5 is holding developers back, and I'm like, but it's the lead platform developers are developing for. We know that based on the amount of games that are releasing retail on the PS5. We also know that there have been games that haven't made it to the competitor's platform because of a hardware SKU that's a bit weaker in the Series S. So it's just ridiculous. Like, I don't understand the grifting and the need to create these false narratives and spread misinformation. It's dumb. It's just dumb. I don't get it. I don't understand why people are listening to people like this. I mean, look, I guess if you feel like it's entertainment, I had someone tell me it's entertainment. I'm like, okay, using entertainment as an excuse for ignorance is bad. Like, let's just stop. Let's just do better. Let's have a better conversation around gaming in general. I mean, again, here's somebody who's saying we're reading on X here. The objective facts are Sony's failing with their Bungie purchase. I mean, I'm seeing that. Again, these are things that are manufactured out of these echo chambers, these console war podcasts. I mean, I wouldn't categorize the Bungie acquisition as failing. It would fail if it was. Ultimately, it would be a failure if it financially just fell, right? If it was a financial failure, excuse me. We don't know that. Are they some challenges at Bungie? Absolutely. Is Sony addressing those challenges? Yes, we know that because heads are rolling and they're getting their hands on Bungie more, as they should, giving the challenges that Bungie's happening. But again, this is what I'm talking about. You have people who are saying the objective facts based on what? Like, if you're going to say objective facts, you need to lay out what those facts are. And again, a lot of these are coming from just people who just saying just dumb stuff like PlayStation has no games. It's just dumb. It's just console war stuff, and these people are people that don't really care about video games. Yeah, I mean, like I said on this tweet, and I said this yesterday, look, we just need better and more intelligent conversations around gaming. That's it. And we try to foster that kind of environment here. All right, so it's gonna be interesting to see, what I'm curious to see when I get out, or what I hear from Forte. Forte is our retail expert here. Going to be interesting to hear in 2 weeks what he saw in terms of pre-orders for the PS5 Pro. It is cognitive dissonance, absolutely. um, so I'm just curious to see kind of like what the buzz is going to be, what Forte sees in 2 weeks on October 10th. When he's able to open up pre-orders for the PS5 Pro. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. They do have Sony also does have the PlayStation 5 Slim 30th Anniversary Edition. That's also up for $500. So, Brian, he says, it wouldn't surprise me if the 10th is busier. I mean, maybe. I mean, it could be busier in the sense that you have that group of consumer who is just waiting to, at least with like EB Games or any other retail that allows trade-ins, where you have the group of consumer that is waiting for that because they know they're going to trade in their console. No, it's the anniversary edition of PS4 Pro that's sold out. Now the regular Pro was sold out earlier on the PlayStation Direct site, and now it's up again. I haven't checked. I wonder if if they're releasing it in batches for pre-order, and then once they go through, and then they'll release another batch. I wonder if that's happening because it actually was sold out earlier this morning, as a matter of fact, and now it's back up. Yeah, I did see. I saw he posted that too earlier, Brian. And it's funny. People are like, "Oh, it's available," and they didn't read his tweet. He was like, "Oh, at this time." We're going to talk about the one thing I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about it today. Is the Nintendo lawsuit. Nintendo is suing Power World over what they're saying the use of Nintendo patents for Power World. That if you haven't been keeping up with this, basically Nintendo has sued Pocket Pair in a Tokyo district court. The lawsuit I can't even talk today. The lawsuit is seeking an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Power World, a game developed and released by Pocket Pair, infringes multiple patent rights. So I think it's something we'll talk about at a later date, probably next Wednesday. Nintendo's going to bury Power World. So much legal red tape. I mean, maybe we'll see. I'm not a legal expert, so I'm not going to speculate. It's interesting. I with the PlayStation 30th anniversary console, like I like the fact that Sony is tapping into its history here. It's. I think for me, obviously, there's a. I mean, like Nintendo has been masters at using nostalgia to drive profits, right? Nintendo, I mean, Sony not as much. It's just, but I'll say it's just nice to see a limited edition piece of hardware being released. I know they've done this generation. They've done the PS5 custom plates, like the Spider-Man one, which is awesome. Wish I would have. That's one I missed out on. Oh, that's what. Okay, corporate. That's what I'm in corporate management. That's what I would do if I want to quash player without having to directly. But yeah, maybe. I mean, that could be it. I mean, they could bury him in red tape. There, it could be just drag this thing out in the courts. But I will say this, and I was thinking about this. I think one thing that's kind of interesting, and I think about the PlayStation 30th anniversary, and I think about, just mention Nintendo has been, they have done this for years now, and drawing upon nostalgia to drive profits and to re-release games, things like that. And it seems like Sony, maybe Sony's heading in that direction. Where they're kind of embracing their history, their back catalog, and how their back catalog is really playing a big part of who they are today. And I mean back catalog. You're seeing some of the the remasters that are coming out. And I get it. I mean, some people are saying, well, hey, like, why are we getting remasters? We don't want remasters. I get that. I get that some people may not want that. I had this conversation with Game Logic today. I don't think I realized, as a consumer at least, that I didn't want. I was getting to a point. I knew, because they had set expectations about 2020 with regards to 2024, that we weren't going to see any major tentpole AAA first party games this year. They did give us Astrobot, which is a great game, by the way. But they were able to fill that void in a classic Sony way, PlayStation way, as they've done in the past with third party exclusivity to fill in that gap. And so, but I kind of can get the angst a little bit of some of the folks that want first party games from Sony, because maybe that's only what they play. And I didn't realize, I'm sitting here thinking, I primarily do game on PC, so I don't really think about consoles as much as I used to, but I was thinking about my, with the announcement of Ghost of Yote, that I was relieved in a way to hear that, because I was like looking at my PS5. I'm like, yeah, I've probably have played 3 games this year on my PS5 console. Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Astrobot. Somebody may say, "Oh, perhaps you didn't play Wukong." No, I play Wukong on a PC, but I wouldn't play that on console. Got a very capable PC. But I mean, I think for me, like just the excitement of Ghosts of Yote, the announcement of that, really got me excited about potentially what they have in store for 2025. And I don't think I realized probably how much I was. No, I didn't play Rise of the Ronin. Yeah, I might try that out, Phil, maybe at a later date, but just not something I'm looking forward to playing right now. But I guess for me, like I just wasn't really, I guess maybe in tune into how much I wanted to hear more about their new AAA or tentpole titles, or hear from their, talented first party studios. Until the after the announcement of Ghost of Yote, where I was like, oh wow, that's what I've been wanting, that's what I've been looking for them. Not that I have anything against the remasters per se, but I understand why they do it. They're not for me, but selfishly, I also want more games that speak to what I want. So I mean, and those aren't going to be necessarily remasters, especially remasters of games that I've played and I don't have interest in going back to. Except for Tilu probably being the exception here, because it's one of my favorite games ever, and I played the remasters with those games. So, but I'll say this back to just kind of them, Sony kind of embracing their back catalog. I mean, look, it is a strength of theirs. I mean, just like Nintendo. I mean, it makes sense, like given that the market has generally responded, I think, positive for remasters. Not all remasters sell well, but there have been a few that have done well. I'm sure Sony looks at some of the data at some of the games that they've remastered that have come out that have done well. Tlu being one of them, and they're like, okay, this is an easy lift for us. We've made money off of this. Any additional money is just added coins to the treasure chest. So I understand that perspective. But as I think about them and Nintendo, Sony just hasn't really, as much as Nintendo, really kind of promoted or maybe has embraced its history, its back catalog history as much as Nintendo has. And perhaps that's a pivot that we're seeing here with Sony, that it's, and it made me think about the article that I read. I talked about this the other day from, I think it's Boomer Apple. It's a blog site that Game Logic had turned me on to, and the author of a particular article was writing about Apple and how Apple mobile is this mature market, and in mature markets, what companies do is they typically start figuring out how to sell more things through their existing consumer base, because they know that there's not going to be a big groundswell of new consumers per se, because it's a mature market. And so I think this is why you see PlayStation, and I said this the other day, it's why they have the PlayStation Portal, the earbuds, the high end or the DualSense Edge controller, why they have the high end Pulse 3D audio headsets. They're just looking to sell you more things, the ecosystem, looking to sell you more services, things like that. And so I think this is another way for them to do that, with embracing some of the back catalog, the remasters, doing those things. So, and that was kind of a criticism of PlayStation from many of the consumers. And I say many of the consumers, but that was that was also a criticism that I would sometimes see on social media, where people would say, like, you have Microsoft, the one who's really done a great job with backwards compatibility. I think Microsoft has mostly done a better job at backwards compatibility, than Sony has, really. And I think part of that is to create a market differentiator between themselves and Sony, but they just seem more interested now in having people play some of their older titles for remasters, offering some of those games in the, I know, in their subscription service as well. So just something I was thinking about, with after the release of the PlayStation 5 Pro 30th anniversary edition. And I'll say this: nostalgia is nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I don't know who said that. Someone said that. Maybe it was Lord Cognito who said that. I don't remember. I've heard that somewhere though. Yeah, Jim Ryan did say no one wants to play old games. I don't remember exactly what Jim Ryan said. I don't think he said no one. But they are, in reality, there aren't a lot of people that want to play. And I have to go back and pull the data on this. I've seen data. But the reality is there are less people in the market that want to play older games. There are people, some people that do. But when most people are buying consoles, they're buying consoles to play the latest and greatest, right? That's just always been the case of new hardware releases in the console space. Again, I'm not saying that nobody wants older titles. Clearly they do, because we see these things being released. But again, it just reminded me of kind of what Nintendo does and their celebration of their history and their back catalog of games and things like that, and just kind of capitalizing right on nostalgia. Querybass says, BRAP, recent report from Sony is that 30% of PlayStation 5 owners are people who have never owned a PS4. These remasters are for them. Yeah, I've actually did hear that as well. That would make sense. That theory there, that would make sense. That in fact, these remasters are for people who've never played, the original PS4 releases, are new to the PlayStation 5 ecosystem. There's a chance to. I mean, look, like if someone is new to the PlayStation 5 and they've never played Horizon Zero Dawn, there's certainly an opportunity to capitalize off that. And you would imagine those people want to have the PS5 experience and not the PS4 experience, right? And again, there's another opportunity. And it's an opportunity. Like PlayStation's made money off that game. They're well beyond their break-even point. The depreciation, all that is, had been done. I wish I had Falke here to walk me through we talked about depreciation in software development before, but to kind of walk us through how that works. But all that's, look, they've made their money, right? And then some is my point. And this is just, it makes sense. There's an opportunity here for them it's an easy lift. It's an easy lift, doesn't require a lot of time and resources, and they can, sell them to people, who didn't own a PlayStation 4 and are new to the PlayStation 5 ecosystem. So yeah, I did see that Corey, 35% of PS5 owners are people who have never owned a PS4. So I certainly understand the theory that perhaps these remasters are for those people, but I also think it's for people who are big fans of games, will buy remasters of games. I'm for one particular franchise. That's with The Last of Us. I've done that. I may have done that for some other games that were remastered that I wanted to play. So yeah, I mean, there's certainly a market there for those types of games, those remasters. And if there was, they probably wouldn't be doing it, right? We always say that, like, companies always don't necessarily. Sometimes they don't do things for the sake of doing it. Sometimes you do it because there's a reason, because the market signal, the market demand has said, hey, we want this. Yeah, I don't know how much more upgraded the experience is. These seem to be more really tapping into, at least my understanding, James, correct me if I'm wrong, more than just a performance boost. I mean, kind of incorporating elements of like better facial animation, things like that you might not get from just a quick performance boost. If that makes sense. All right, I'm behind on super chats here. I want to thank JD Gamer with a $10 super chat. Says, none of us know how Power World lawsuit will turn out. Legal experts have said Nintendo chose a patent lawsuit because they're likely wouldn't have won a copyright or trademark lawsuit, which says a lot. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this thing plays out. I haven't read any real legal opinions on this. Actually, that's not true. I read an article on GameIndustry.biz where there was there was a legal opinion on it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with this lawsuit. Then JD Gamer also with the $5 super chat. Thank you again, JD. Says Nintendo registered and modified their original patent after the release of Power World, and what one legal expert describes as legal maneuvering. Look at Nintendo, man. Viper says the difference is Nintendo releases remasters of games you can't play on the current system, where Sony remasters games already playable on PS5 with upgrades. I wish they would go further beyond PS4. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like if they tap in beyond PS4, but I just don't know. Maybe for them, maybe those games don't translate well. I don't know, like PS2 games. Just my opinion, but. Yeah, that's the other thing, Corey. There's something to be said about the metaverse here. We know that Sony's multimedia approach. One of the things Hiroki Totoki, people often don't. They focus on, profit margins, this, and yeah, I mean, I get it. Like he's an FP&A guy. He's going to look at profit margins. That's what FP&A. That's what the bean counters do. They're hyper focused on profit margins. You could have the best profit margins on planet Earth, and they're still going to try to figure out ways to increase profit margin even more. Again, it goes back to fiduciary responsibilities that companies have, publicly traded companies in particular, have to their shareholders to increase profits or margins. One of the things that gets, I think, sidestepped a bit is his commentary and creating increasing margins or increasing other ways to generate revenue off existing IP. And one of that is, to your point, Corey, movies. I believe Ghosts is also going to have some kind of movie adaptation to it, if I'm not mistaken. We know about The Last of Us or shows. I shared the Last of Us season 2 on Max, HBO Max trailer yesterday, which looks really good. By the way, we have like over 118 people here watching. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so. Only got 28 likes. Let's get those likes up, people. Really helps with the channel. Helps people find the channel too. Yeah, and there's an opportunity for there could be, Corey, to your point, there could be some new consumers to the platform that may have arrived there from watching a show, perhaps, and then again, that's an opportunity to sell to those those new consumers potentially. All right, another super chat from JD Gamer, $10 super chat. Thank you again, JD. I really appreciate it, good sir. It says, objectively, NetEase, Microsoft, and ABK all declined to purchase or make further investment into Bungie, but PlayStation paid $3.6 billion for them, and that can't be considered a good decision. So I question their management. I mean, I would ask the question, JD, how are we determining that it's not a good decision? We have no final outcome just yet of how this merger acquisition is going to play out. M&As are challenging, extremely challenging by nature. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's that things are going to definitively work out or that this is definitively a bad decision, because we don't know what the final outcome is. Obviously, there's challenges, but if you've been a part of an M&A, I've been a part of 4 M&As. Only one M&A I've ever been a part of has been good in terms of transition. The other 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One went well. The other 2 had some challenges. They went through some reorg, some org chart, some reorganization, some changes in strategy and OKRs, things like that, and just, I mean, it took a while to really get it to work. And then I had one where it just fell apart. It wasn't good. So I'm not, Microsoft also did want to buy Bungie. If we remember JD Gamer, the reporting out there is that Microsoft wanted Bungie to be exclusive again, and that's not something that Bungie wanted. They didn't want to only create exclusive content, which was kind of a no deal. We don't know what the reasons were for NetEase or ABK, but clearly there's some management issues within Bungie. If you listen to the show where we've discussed Bungie, Logic in particular has thrown the idea out that perhaps as Bungie grew, the leadership in place didn't have the experience per se to really properly manage a larger organization outside of what Bungie had traditionally been, and perhaps that caused some of the issues there. But I think that's why the Sony's kind of stepped in and said, okay, we're gonna pull the reins on this a bit more. So So I'm not going to say I don't agree that it can't be considered a good decision because we don't know what the outcomes are going to be. We'll only be able to judge that when in the future. Are they issues, challenges? Absolutely, I don't disagree with that. But I don't. I'm not. I know there's a narrative out there, and I think sometimes it's fueled by people by console warring. I'm not saying you're doing that, JD, but I see that sometimes or narrative out there. That, oh yeah, look at. And one of the things that I've seen, and again, I'm not saying you're doing this, JD, but one of the things that I've seen recently is this narrative from some content creators, pundits, to try to basically point the finger at PlayStation and say, oh, see, they have problems too, like Xbox, and they do have some challenges, but their challenges are different than Microsoft's in the gaming space. So it's not an apples to apples, but I do see people trying to create that narrative that things are just as bad, right? And when they're not, based on where PlayStation sits currently in the market. I'm not saying there's not any challenges or any issues there. I'm saying that they're just in different positions in the market. Bungie staff level. JD says Bungie staff level was near 1,400 people, and today it sits at almost half that. And if we're going to question management at Xbox for layoffs, then shouldn't we at PlayStation? Again, two separate issues, JD. Two companies that are sitting in different positions in the market that are having different challenges. I think there's, if you look at the issues of Xbox management, I would say that they're more tangible examples of issues in terms of communication, managing a production pipeline. Bungie to an extent has autonomy in a way that, in a way that some of the other first party studios Xbox don't have. So I don't. This is where I get a little with the conversation. Well, if we question Xbox, we have to question Sony, and I think it's done like this tick for tack thing. I think they all have unique challenges, but I think if we're looking at where they sit in the market, look, at the end of the day, it's about performance, right? Who's performing better in the market right now? Who hasn't had to pivot their business strategy because of declining hardware sales? Who's had a better, production pipeline, or managing a production pipeline? There have been some real challenges at Xbox, which has led to them pivoting out of the console space, or the console being the core. And I get it. They had to do that in order to, create a space that they could, generate additional revenue. The reduction of Bungie staff. I'm not surprised by that. Some of those staff have been absorbed elsewhere. But I'm frankly, that doesn't even shock me because it's an M&A. Like when we said on this show to people when Microsoft acquired ABK, like expect layoffs. And I would say expect more layoffs there too, because of duplication of positions and things like that. Like I'm surprised, maybe this has happened, but I'm not aware of any back office stuff being cut because of duplication there. That typically does happen, but maybe that has happened, and I'm not aware of it. But when we question Xbox's management here on this show, it is based on their performance in the market. And some of the challenges they have in terms of managing the production pipeline, and some of the challenges they've had in terms of messaging to their consumers. Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Element Hero. Bungie was hurting Xbox, Sony, other companies from the news? I'm not aware of that. Why file an investigation on Bungie? Yeah, Brian Easton, that's actually, yeah, and that's actually a great point. Like, Bungie's problems are Bungie's issues, which is why Sony's getting involved now. It's one of the things Logic's talked about here. Yeah, Ice Queen Gaming says Sony did take some of the devs from Bungie to a new studio to make a new game. Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. Cfresh 1280 says all companies have issues. Yeah, and that's kind of my point. I mean, no company's perfect. Apple has challenges. Google has challenges. Microsoft has challenges. Samsung has challenges. Nintendo has challenges. Everyone has challenges. All right, PlayStation 5 Sweden with the 50. I think that's Swedish currency. If that is the Swedish krona, thank you for the 50 Swedish krona there. He says, bruh, did you get a PS5 Pro? I got 2 of them because I have to replace my 2 standards. I did not get a PlayStation 5 Pro, but I did not. Thank you for that super chat, though. And then we have Shivinshu Prasad with a $2 super chat. Says, why are so many defensive of questioning Xbox? I think that goes back to that's been like that for the 10 years I've been podcasting. I at times I think there's I think there's been frankly some legitimate criticism that Xbox deserves. We've talked about it on this show. There's been some legitimate criticism of PlayStation 2 and Nintendo. I mean, no company's perfect, but I don't buy into the whataboutisms, I guess. If we're going to, especially, and I see that a lot, people trying to drive home the Bungie narrative somehow that because Sony's having, because there's challenges of Bungie, therefore they're in the same position as Microsoft or Xbox. And I just don't buy into that. I think that's false. None of us know truly what's happening internally at Bungie. We know there's something happening there, but I'm very hesitant to say that, it's a disaster. I've heard people say, it's a disaster there. It's a mess. It's a thing. There's challenges, absolutely. But to come to arrive to any kind of final conclusion, we don't know. Well, JD, I mean, don't listen to those fans. I mean, I don't know why that's an issue. I mean, you're saying PlayStation only fans point out those challenges. They either minimize or refuse to admit. So does PlayStation. I mean, so if they don't, they don't. That's on them. Like, I just don't pay attention to stuff like that anymore. Like, I'm just like, it's, you're going to have people that are going to brand defend on both sides. It just is what it is. And look, no company's without its challenges. There's different challenges, but the whataboutism, the whataboutisms, and the need to obfuscate, the need to try to create these narratives to prove that one brand's better than the other or one business model's better than the other. It's just tiring now. It's really tiring. It's ridiculous. I don't know why Bungie needs to be investigated. The element here, I'm not following you. Oh, I see what you're saying now. Never mind. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it raises an eyebrow. I mean, they've broken up with Xbox and ABK, and I think the ABK thing too is just they didn't. I get the sense that leadership just didn't want that hands on, and Sony's not going to. I just get the sense Sony, just given how they operate internally with their first party, what we've seen. That at times that Sony will get hands-on when they need to. But I see what you're saying now. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that Bungie's had some that Bungie broke away from Xbox. But part of that too is we go back to the history there with Xbox. They wanted to do Destiny, and Xbox didn't want Bungie to do Destiny. The Traveler is actually teased in Halo ODST in the game. There's actually a poster of the Traveler. And Bungie didn't want to do Halo anymore, and they wanted to do Destiny, and Xbox said no. So that's why they left. I mean, I kind of see your point, but now that I'm kind of thinking about the historical, going back in history here and thinking about what actually happened, yeah, I'm not so sure an investigation's required, as you're saying, because they were, I think, in my opinion, reasons why Bungie wanted to leave, because Xbox wanted them to do Halo, and they didn't want to do Halo anymore. They wanted to move on to Destiny. And if I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and look. So take this with a grain of salt, but the ABK thing I think had to do with, I think the amount of pressure of ABK wanted to do like yearly content releases or something. But I don't remember everything that happened there at ABK. I'd have to go back and read up on that again. Yeah. So James, this isn't a PC. I've never said this is a PC podcast, dude. This is a gaming podcast. What I have said is that I primarily play on PC, but this is a gaming podcast. This isn't if this was a PC podcast, shit, I'd be talking about the leaks that we've seen with the 5090s and the 5080s. No additional VRAM, in comparison to the 4080 on the 5080. I'd be talking about that, and a 400 watt power supply requirement for power supply. I'd be talking about that, but I'm not. I may talk about that Wednesday, though. But no, I mean, this isn't a PC podcast. I've never said that. Bungie has a track record of looking for publishers to save them. I mean, I think the Xbox, them leaving Xbox, I don't think is them looking for a publisher to save them as much as it was creative freedom. I don't recall the. I mean, Brian, I mean, there's something to be said about Nvidia right now. I mean, but the market still responds positively. They're not going to change until the market says, no, we've had enough. And that happened to Intel, their CPUs. Yeah, the free market's going to have to make that change where they feel the need to adjust. But yeah, I'm not so sure about. Again, I have to go back and look at what happened with ABK. I don't remember all the details. I mean, JD says PlayStation sells a lot of consoles, more than double what Xbox does, but they don't earn double the money. Yeah, their margins are slimmer than Xbox because they've been really impacted. More recently, they've been impacted by FX. I mean, that's really impacted their profit margins. Their inflationary dynamics have impacted them in the supply chain in ways that Microsoft doesn't feel that impact because of the dollar. I'd have to go back and look at the financials in terms of revenue. I don't think they're that much further ahead in terms of revenue. They may be tied, but I haven't looked at I have to go back and look at the numbers. I could be wrong. Um, but a lot of their but again, I mean, you're looking at, but they're also in different businesses. I mean, their business models are slightly different. Microsoft's more of a Xbox more of a services company. The Xbox also bearing a lot of expenses in their financials. They're passing off expenses to the Azure group, so there's that. I think Phil referred to as accountability margins, which is logic to explain the term. But I mean, I think, and I don't, JD, I hope you're not doing this, but I often see people point to revenue and profit margins. Say, oh, see, like the Xbox's business model is better. I mean, look, PlayStation is the leader in the console space, in the high-end console space. Nintendo is the leader in the, what I would say, the low-end hybrid handheld console market, right? Nintendo has great margins. They don't drive nearly as much the revenue as either Xbox or Sony, but they're both healthy. Yeah, but the better margins are again are impacted by things like FX and other things we've talked about here on this show. Yeah, Shivanshu Prasad. They spread misinformation because they just want to tear down platforms, and it's both sides. I've seen it on both sides, and that's why I said we just need to have better, better conversations around gaming. Frankly, it's getting the conversation of us versus them, or one business model being better than the other has gotten a bit a bit stale. I think you can certainly have conversations about yes, exactly, the W word, Capono 51. We got to stop saying that. It is very possible. I mean, I wouldn't say Nintendo's a market leader per console sold, because they don't compete for the same consumer as PlayStation and Xbox do. JD Gamer, in different markets, they compete in different market. I'm not saying there's not any overlap there, but it's a different consumer base, mostly a different consumer base. But yeah, I agree with you, Capono. I mean, like we got to stop, putting so much emphasis on who's winning, and focus on, are we winning as consumers? Are we getting what we want from these platforms? Are these platform owners, are they checking off all the requirements we have as a consumer? I mean, I think it's fair to have a conversation around the business models. We can talk about that, but not the, oh, well, this business model's better because of this and that. And I'm like, why? I mean, it's, Shivansu, I think he maybe believes some of the stuff he says. I don't think he's a well-informed individual. I don't necessarily think he does his research. And it's disappointing. Like I've spoken to him behind the scenes, a nice person, but yeah, I think just he's kind of fallen into that trap of spreading misinformation, disinformation. And I think one of the things he said had something to do with the effect of he questioned if the PS5 Pro is going to come out because of Totoki's commentary on profit margins, and here we are with the PS5 Pro. And he doesn't even understand like that project had been R&D'd years ago. I think, Falky's talked about this. We had him on this show. I mean, like all three platform owners, the pie is so big in gaming. All three platform owners can carve out a nice piece of the business for them, where they can make where they can meet their own OKRs, KPIs. They can meet their profit target. I mean, there's opportunities for them there. I mean, it's funny, we never talk about Nintendo as having issues. Oh, well, Nintendo doesn't have a robust online platform or online service the way Xbox and PlayStation does. Oh, Nintendo doesn't offer a high-end gaming machine, but Nintendo's carved out a piece of the pie for them that works, that is profitable for them. Yeah, and Capone, that's my frustration. It's like, if you're gonna make comments like that the way he did, then at least understand, like, when the R&D happened, when the light bulb moment happened, when the design plan started happening for this Pro. I mean, geez, this is the thing. And again, this goes back to the conversation of who's the PS5 Pro for. Why are we asking that question? We know who that's for based on last console generation. We had both platform owners do a mid-gen refresh, the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. We know who those devices are for. I don't know why we were asking the question again with the PS5 Pro of who this is for. It is for an enthusiast consumer. Yeah, Sons of Agar, that guy is not very, he's disingenuous, not very, I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, and that's really unfortunate, like, that people are so invested in who's winning, which platform is having problems, rather than just enjoying the platform that they prefer, enjoying the games that they play. You know, actually, JD, I disagree with you. We have Atari to thank for that. Yeah, JD, I don't disagree. Xbox doesn't have to do what PlayStation does for success, and PlayStation doesn't have to do what Xbox does for success. If they can carve out a piece of the market that where they can make money, and I think Xbox is that's what they're doing. I mean, they're operating very much like a software as a services company. They're also acting like a third party publisher. I think they are a third party publisher at this point. Um, and that's fine. That works for their business model. They have money to make, and they're going to make money that way. I mean, it just is what it is. It's not a. I see people saying it's a bad thing. I see people making fun of, oh, Xbox, a third party publisher, haha. Like, why would you laugh? I mean, they put themselves in a position where they own very, very valuable IPs. In Call of Duty and Minecraft, and they'll make money off of that. And that's what companies are in the business of doing, making money. Yeah, I mean, that's Ice Queen Gaming. That's such a great point. If people want to buy the PS5 Pro, it's up to them, no one else. I mean, I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, why are you buying a Pro? Why would you spend $700? It's not your money." Atari was responsible for ET. I don't disagree, but Atari's why we have the home console, JD. Atari's why we have the home console. And that's fair, Siru21, if that's your opinion. You have every right to do that as a consumer. That's a great point, too, from Watcher. Like, you love the PlayStation, you're not getting a Pro because you're good with normal PS5. Exactly. AlphaGo says, why would someone spend 50 to 60K on a Civic Type R? Because it's their money. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We don't have these conversations. We don't do these mental gymnastics with other consumer products. I mean, I see a Honda Civic Type R, and I'm like, it's still a Honda Civic. I mean, I understand under the hood it's not, but that's just how I process it. But I'm not yelling at the person who's buying the Honda's Civic Type R. I'm not doing a podcast and asking the question, oh my gosh, who is this for? Who is this for? Who wants this? Yeah, Capono 5150. I've been saying this thank you for bringing this up, sir. For years I've been saying PC is the premium place to play video games. It's Microsoft, Xbox is the reason why I got back into PC gaming. And that's I don't say that as a slight, but in some ways, like, it was great that they pushed me that direction because I'm enjoying PC gaming so much more. And I'm back to how, I PC gamed in the late 90s, early 2000s, but I'm back to that now, in part because of their strategy. And again, it's not a slight. It's actually and for me, it was actually a very positive outcome in their shift in strategy. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I know the Magnavox Odyssey. I get that, but the Atari. I guess I should have expanded on this a bit more, JD. The Atari was the first like mass market home console that really took off. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Prasad. Again, people saying that Sony, Nintendo need to do. They don't. I mean, they unless the mass market demands they pivot, then they'll pivot. But I don't think they need to. So long as they're profitable, so long as they feel like they're hitting their their objectives, their key results, they're going to continue doing what they're doing. The future of PC does look bright. I don't disagree with that, Capono 5150. All right, let's see here. Oh, so I do want to talk about Final Fantasy 7-16. Per Jez Corden, he's saying per his sources that eventually Final Fantasy 7 and 16 will be coming to Xbox. He didn't provide a specific time frame, just down the road. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I would imagine 16 would probably come before 7, given the involvement of PlayStation with 7. But yeah, I could see 16, coming on down the road at some point. I mentioned this on BRAP Wednesday. I thought, hey, if there's a Final Fantasy 16 announcement at the Tokyo Game Show on Thursday, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw maybe Final Fantasy 16 get launched released into Game Pass. If it did come to the Xbox, I wouldn't be surprised down the road if it came to Xbox at a later date, if it actually did, in fact, did release in Game Pass. 7 maybe, but I don't know. Like we don't know what exclusivity PlayStation has with 7, when that the extent of that. But never say never, right? Yeah, Vibrancy says I don't expect Final Fantasy to come to Xbox until third parties release on PlayStation. Yeah, that's actually a great point too. I've heard some other people say that as well. Maybe it doesn't come until the third installment of the Final Fantasy VII remake. Lord Jorinza says if consoles get $800, I'm going to PC. I mean, look, if that's fair, you're going to have to spend I would say this. If depending on the kind of PC experience you want, you're going to be well over $800. You're probably be double. You're probably be at $1,600 for a decent PC rig, like a 1440, like a mid card rig. And that's not including the monitor, by the way. Should mention that too. So, Lord Jorinza, if you were prepared to pay double, then yeah. I think the 70 cards are the sweet spot. My PC build was about 2,300. Yeah, no, I mean that's a fair point, Lord Jorinza. Just be okay with that. Your PC specs within a year, um, will be yesterday's news, if you will. BRAP, honestly, most people don't even have the TVs to take full advantage of these consoles, which you could tack on as well. Yeah, I don't know what the breakdown is of 4K TVs versus 1080. But regardless, I mean, you're still getting improved graphics, performance on newer consoles. But yeah, I mean, not everyone's going to have, not everyone would have like a what I have, a 65-inch OLED with that has both G-Sync, V-Sync, VRR, and all the bells and whistles. Yeah, I don't know about using a card for 3 gens. I don't know about that either. I'm probably going to upgrade next year. But yeah, I mean, Lord Drizzt, if you were, I mean, if you're thinking about, if you're kind of on that precipice of PC, I mean, maybe look into doing it now. Yeah, I don't know what kind of PC monitor you have. If you have a decent monitor, I mean, why not? I mean, the 5070s or the 50 cards are coming out soon. Or I don't know when they're coming out, but we're starting to get some information on, the specifications for those cars. But it may be time to look into PC gaming if you're really thinking about it. I mean, again, my PC build with my 3070 was about Dr. Dry Robbie, 1440p is a sweet spot for me. Although people like slow-mo, like 4K gaming on PC. Not that's a bad thing. Yeah, Capone, that's the other thing too. I mean, I don't disagree with you. You can, I mean, you start upgrading GPUs every year. I mean, you're spending, depending on what GPU you're using, $600. Then if you require a new power supply, you have to replace that. Then CPU, you're looking at upgrading that. So. But yeah, I mean, you start upgrading those GPUs, Capono 5150 every gen. Yeah, I mean, it can get pricey for sure. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Viper XT brought up that great point about at least for Final Fantasy VII, it may not maybe come to Xbox until after the third installment of the series is released. So I would expect 16 to come before 7. Let me get these. I think I missed some super chats here. Silverback with the $2 Canadian super chat says the Atari was my first love. There were some good games on the Atari for sure. Face 23 BKNY with the $2 super chat says GT7 and F1 2024 running AK60 on Pro is impressive. That is impressive. I think JD Gamer and Corey, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what Corey's alluding to is that Sony, the PlayStation really brought gaming more into the mainstream. Maybe that's what he means by building an industry. I could be wrong, but that's because when I was growing up, I mean, if you were gaming wasn't as mainstream, even on the Nintendo Entertainment System. But what I remember with PlayStation, the PlayStation 1, it really started becoming mainstream, especially, and then the PlayStation 2 as well. But yeah, I could see 16 coming sooner than later. I mean, look, Square Enix, and the reason why I say 16 in Game Pass, I mean, look, I mean, I know it's a different series, but it's owned by Square Enix nonetheless. They brought Dragon Quest 11 to Game Pass, so that's why I say it would surprise me to see 16 at Game Pass if it's further on down the road in terms of release. Game Pass is the final stop for third party. Yeah, in some instances it is, Brian, but that I don't always necessarily think that's a negative per se. It's just it could be another way for them to get additional potentially some additional money. AMD will always have to come in way cheaper. Yeah, Component, have you heard anything about the newer AMD GPUs that are supposed to be the future of AMD GPUs? I really don't keep up with AMD too much. Oh, no, JD, I didn't even read what he said. I was actually responding to what you said. And I thought, because you said something about the industry, changing in the industry or something. And I was just reflecting on the cultural impact that PlayStation had in terms of bringing gaming more mainstream. I don't know how accurate this is, but Eric Jackson, the BRAP DM, says he saw a tweet from a guy cursing out Chase because they froze his account thinking it was a fraud, so he never got his 30th anniversary order through. Wow. Oh, my gosh. I hope that's not true. That would suck. Oh, you heard something like that too, Brian East? Yeah, it's going to be, that would suck if that happened. Capono said AMD is not doing high-end GPU this gen. They will do mid-tier that will match 7900 XTX, but a little better ray tracing for mid-range price. Okay, gotcha. Gregor Von Dupe says, my bank stopped my PlayStation Direct before because it shows up to them as a purchase in Japan. Really? Interesting. Interesting. All right, I'm going to make sure before I wrap up here, I didn't miss any super chats. I don't think I did. I think I had all the super chats. But do me a quick favor before we wrap up today's BRAP rant, this Friday rant. Please hit that like button. We have over 120 people here watching. Smash the like button. Helps people find the channel. And want to thank everyone for joining me this Friday afternoon. You know what? I may do some... I'm going to try to do as much as I can, maybe Friday afternoon rants around this time. Seem to get a good turnout of folks coming in the live chat, listening to the show live. Before we wrap up, I want to know what is everyone playing this weekend? That's what I'm interested in hearing or seeing in the live chat. Let me know. Let me know in the comments section below too what you're planning on playing this weekend as well. I'm going to be playing the. I'm going to be playing some more Astrobot. I'm going to be playing some of the Metaphor Re-Fantasio demo that is out right now. Oh, Shivansu Prasad says Star Ocean, the Divine Force. Oh, okay. Gundam Breaker 4. Power World on PS5 Game of the Year. Wow. See, oh, there we go. Battlefield 2042 and Metaphor demo. Remember, the Metaphor demo is on all platforms right now. Brian saying might make a trip back to Tsushima. I got Echoes of Wisdom, Platinum Astrobot, Monster Hunter Rise, and Wilds. Playing all Platinum Assassin's Creed games. Wow. Astrobot, Valhalla. No, it's not bad. You want to play Zero Dawn again, Capono? I've thought about picking it up on PC. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to do open world right now. I don't know. I don't know if we'll get another version of Persona 3. Oh, Man Overboard says Platinum for Black Myth Wukong. Nice. I need to get back to Black Myth Wukong and playing it on PC right now. But yeah, let me know in the comments section too what you're planning on playing this weekend, and any other comments you have regarding the topics discussed on today's BRAP rant. And again, hit that like button if you haven't done so. If you're new, consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Also, give me a follow on X or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, at BRAP_podcast. Where you can find me on X. And want to wish everyone a great weekend as well. Have fun playing video games, because ultimately that's what it's all about. And we will catch you next time. Thank you for watching.